Yo, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary with the Fan TV back at you with a video at the content. This video, go smash that like button at the content of this channel. Go and subscribe, man. Look, so um, Ravens lost right yesterday in the playoffs to the Buffalo Bills, 27-25. Very, very disappointed with it in the season. But you know, this is why going back into the season, I want to be wrong about these kind of things, right? Like, but the Ravens, a lot of times they show you who they are in these big games sometimes, right? They've overcome certain things this year, like, 10-point deficits and, things like that. They've played better, but, sometimes they still make too many mistakes, right? All right, but before we get into the Ravens part, all right, for the Bills, good game for the Buffalo Bills, right? Defensively, they dominated the line of scrimmage, which I didn't think they were going to do, right? The Ravens still got their running game going, particularly in the second half, but Buffalo really did a good job holding up in that first half. They played really well on the D line, right? Milano made a couple of plays to pass coverage, which way he was going to be way more valuable in than run stopping. All right. Then offensively, Josh Allen played turnover free, mistake free football. He threw the ball over 10 yards, probably, or I could probably count it on one hand. He had the big completion down the middle too. I think that was secure on the first drive of the game. And besides that, they really didn't push the ball down the field at all, right? They played it safe, kind of how they played the Broncos. We'll beat you 5 to 7 yards at a time, right? And they did that for the most part. Scored 21 in the first half, got a lot of short fields, took advantage. Second half, Ravens tightened up, but by that point, they shot themselves in the foot too much, right? So shout out to the Bills. They did what they were supposed to do, right? All right. Now for the Ravens part of it, okay. Um, Mistakes, turnovers, penalties. That's what the playoffs is all about. That's it. Mistakes, turnovers, penalties. That's all the playoffs are about. Okay. So let's talk about mistakes. Derrick Henry dropped the ball, opening drive of the game, right? Ravens end up still scoring, but it gave me a straight up flashback to when the last time the Ravens were in Buffalo, and J.K. Dobbins dropped the pass. Same thing. Lamar Jackson throwing the ball on the corner, on the sideline, hits the running back in the hands, drop. Bad omen. Right off the jump. Bad omen. Okay. Mark Andrews had a myriad of drops. Right. Mark Andrews had the fumble. Mark Andrews dropped the 2-point conversion that would have tied the game and gave the Ravens defense a chance to stop the Bills. Right. Um, okay. So that's mistakes. Turnovers. The Ravens lost a turnover battle 3-0. 3-0. Okay. Lamar Jackson's first interception, miscommunication, overthrow, can't happen. Right. It's unfortunate. All right. That pick is a miscommunication between him and Rashad Bateman. I can kind of live with it just because those things can happen. Right. Does it happen too often in these games? Yes. But I can kind of live with it because that's a play that can happen at any point. The fumble is unacceptable. Okay. Don't make a bad play worse. That's what Lamar Jackson has been great at, not making bad plays worse. The snap is already terrible. Okay, Tyler in the ball, you get blamed for this. Okay, snap is bad. Lamar Jackson has to reach outside of his frame. He grabs it, he turns. In the essence of trying to make somebody miss, he drops the ball. Right, the ball is not even punched out. He just drops the ball. Okay, great hustle play by Justice Hill getting all the way down there. One of my man was saying that he thought that Justice Hill was going to knock it out, and Justice Hill was kind of close to doing that. All right, but that can't happen. Okay, that simply cannot happen in the playoffs. Okay, all right. Then penalties. The Ravens lose the penalty battle, 5-1, 43 yards to 10 yards. Right, we can have our gripes about what's we can have our gripes about the Tre'Davious White penalty, which was a terrible penalty, right? That's never defensive pass interference. If anything, that's offensive pass interference. That kind of swings momentum, right? Bills they get penalized and they lose 15 yards. Maybe they don't even get a field goal, and it's 14-10 going into the half instead of 21-10. At worst, it's 17-10, right? So either way, terrible penalty call, whatever, right? But still, they lost the penalty battle, right? The Bills played cleaner football, and there was some penalties out there that the referees could have called that they did not. If we're going to be completely honest, the Ravens too many times let the Bills get in their head and The Ravens were this close to committing multiple personal foul penalties. Multiple. I seen Ronnie Stanley push guys over. On defense, I think it was Marlon Humphrey and Madubuike push somebody over because they were getting into it in a pile. The Ravens were very, very close to committing multiple personal foul penalties. I seen it, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie to you. I saw it out there. Okay, the referees didn't call that, so it could have been even more yards of penalty yards right there. All right, there was some a little bit of holding to the Ravens got away with as well. All right, so it was not a clean game in any stretch of the imagination. No part of this game was clean for the Ravens. All right, this is one of the first times when the Ravens lost in the playoffs, and I thought that the coaching was fine. Right, I really didn't have a problem with the play calling. I thought that Tom Lincoln ran the ball right. Derrick Henry ends the game with 16 carries, 84 yards. Right, he had broke up a couple of bigger runs, but at certain points, you kind of get away from the game script, right? I mean, you down 21-10, you gotta start passing the ball a little bit more. The Ravens still stuck to running the football, right? They still ran the ball. Ravens had a total of Justice Hill had 6 carries, so that's 22 carries right there. Lamar Jackson carried the ball 6 times. Somebody had the scrambles, so that's 28 runs, right? So it's like this game was on execution from the players. The execution from the players were bad. It was bad. All right, it was bad. Um, you know, so Lamar Jackson, right? We gotta talk about it, okay? Lamar Jackson, he played a flawless second half. I mean, with there was the last drive of the game when Shaw Bateman goes down, right? For pretty much the entire drive, right? He gets injured pretty early in the drive, okay? So Steven Sims, Nelson Aguilar, Tylen Wallace, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, that's who he's driving down the field with, right? Okay. He's making play after play after play after play. All right. Lamar Jackson had a marvelous, marvelous second half. But yeah, I'm saying second half. Because first half, you can't make those kind of mistakes, man. Can't do it. Can't do it. Right? Like I said, when you look at the style of play between how the Ravens play and how the Bills play, the Bills didn't ask Josh Allen to do anything difficult outside of the first drive when he made that pass down to Shakir. If you look at the touchdown drives for the Bills, 7 rushes, 2 passes. It was things like that repeatedly. Okay, and that's on the defense too to get better. Like defense got to be able to get them some stop, get them in some third and longs where they can't get that going. But at the end of the day, when you look at how the teams had to play, it was way too much on Lamar Jackson's shoulders versus what the Bills was asking Josh Allen to do, right? And Lamar he's got to be better with the ball, right? But I will say this: Lamar made up for that first half with that second half. The first half still carries a lot of weight because it puts the Ravens in an 11-point deficit, and the Ravens have to overcome that, right? They do, right? You know what I'm saying? So he doesn't get completely marked off for it, right? It happened in the game. I can't take it away. He gets blamed for that, okay? But when you watch the second half of the game, he was great, okay? He was great. The player that we have to talk about and we have to come to a real realization with is Mark Andrews. Okay, Mark Andrews is the best tight end in the Ravens history. He has all the stats to prove it. He has big time regular seasons. He has big time performances in the regular season. Down this stretch at the end of the year, I mean, what he caught like 11 touchdowns in the last, I don't know, 10 weeks of the year, something like that, something crazy, right? Mark Andrews has been a consistent playoff choker. Okay, and it hurts me to say those words. Honestly, it does, right? Because I love Mark Andrews, right? Good guy on the field, good guy off the field, stand up personality, right? Good, just a good all around Raven to represent the team. But when we look at big plays in the playoffs, we can say more on the bad end for Mark Andrews than we can say on the good end. Okay. I mean, we can go back to the Titans game. He's one of the players that dropped the passes on the first drive of the game, 2019. Okay. It was Mark Andrews. Okay, when you come to this game, he drops multiple passes. Right, the play before Lamar Jackson fumbles, Mark Andrews drops a ball that would have put the Ravens in like 2nd and 2 or something like that, 3rd and 2. Okay, he dropped that pass, stone cold in the hands, dropped it. Then he catches the ball. Lamar. This is when the offense is starting to cook. Right, they're flowing. Okay, it's 24-19. The Ravens are going to score again. Right, that's just the feel of the drive, the flow of the game. The Bills, it got to a certain point where The regular season Ravens offense showed up, and the Bills could not stop them. Okay, Lamar rolls out, completes a pass to Mark Andrews, and for whatever reason, Mark Andrews has never made a single person miss in his entire life. He decides to cut back, and Terrell Bernard, I believe, punches it out, fumble. Situational awareness. Know who you are. Isaiah Likely cut back and fumble. I will be pissed off. But Isaiah Likely, I've seen him make people miss. I've seen Isaiah Likely get extra yards on yak. That's not your game. Catch the ball, get up the field, fall down. There was about, I would say there's probably 5 Buffalo Bills around Mark Andrews when he tries to cut back. You're not going anywhere. Truly, you're not going anywhere. Okay? Situational awareness, low. Very, very low. Okay? Um, and then, you got to talk about the two-point conversion, right? The Ravens draw up a rollout, pick play. Rashad Bateman's out wide. He comes down. He sets the pick. He gets Mark Andrews free. Lamar Jackson pumps it like it's coming to you. And then Lamar Jackson throws him a pillow, an absolute soft toss. All right. Like you're playing catch outside with your 5-year-old son. Okay. Throws him an absolute pillow. Mark Andrews stumbles over it, drops it, game over. I didn't even watch the onside kick. I didn't even watch the onside kick. All right. Because once Mark Andrews dropped that ball, game's over with. It's over with. Okay. So the Ravens, too many times, they get in their own way. Right. And then, I think that, like I said, this was a player execution game. It was. Okay. People are going to point to different coaching things. I thought the coaching was fine. The decision to go for 2 was fine. Lamar finds Isaiah Likely wide open. Matt Milano gets in the lane, tips the pass. Isaiah Likely is wide open. Okay. All right. So to me, going for 2 was fine there. I really didn't have any qualms with going for 2 that first time. And then the second time they went for 2, they should have got it. So the Ravens should have converted both 2-point converters. 1, a great play by Buffalo. 2, Mark Andrews stumbling over everything. Okay. So when you get to these points in the season, right? And listen, I'm not gonna say a big, but if the Ravens were to move on for John Harbaugh, I'm not spending to have a gripe with it. I've made videos about that. But this isn't the game to point to what John Harbaugh did or didn't do this game, right? What Todd Monken did or didn't do this game. The game plan was pretty good. Players got to execute, man. Players got to execute. So this historic offense with this average defense, the defense that couldn't really get a stop, for large parts of the game, right? The Ravens got to go back to the drawing board and get it right. They do, I've never been a fan of, the regular season is meaningless. It doesn't have any importance. You know, I'm not going to enjoy the Ravens because, well, do it in the playoffs, right? I've never been that kind of fan, right? You enjoy the ride along the way, and you still know that the end goal has to be Super Bowl, right? But when you lose in this kind of fashion repeatedly, it gets very, very hard to think about, well, shoot, what's going to be different next year, right? Why keep getting your hopes about what could be when they show you what it is, right? But I'm going to continue to, obviously support the team, right? Ravens fan for life, but I'm going to continue, to love the regular season, right? Love what the Ravens can do, and then, all you can do is that hopefully that one day that they break through, right? And they change the narrative about this team, right? So that's all you can hope for. And yeah, the Ravens end the season 27-25, a very, very disappointing loss. A game that the Ravens, could have won. It wasn't like the Buffalo. I don't think the Buffalo played the Ravens off the field. All right, and I'm not going to say the Ravens were the better team because that would be false as well. I thought the Ravens played an adequate game outside of the very, very vital part of taking care of the football and taking it away from the other team, right? But that's a big part as well, right? The Ravens defense did not force any turnovers, right? Whereas the punch outs, if Josh Allen is not going to put the ball in danger, somebody has to go and rip the ball from the other team, They have to, right? We saw Terrell Bernard do it to Mark Andrews, right? But so that's my thoughts on it, man. The Ravens will go back to the drawing board and we'll see what they come up with, right? They got a lot of guys that are free agents, some guys that they might need to trade, get rid of, and we'll talk about it as the months come along, right? So, but obviously, give me your thoughts in the comments. You guys know about all comments, but Gabriel to Fan TV. I'm out.